Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight where we get you the day's top stories. Today, of course, a big focus on Bihar and that cabinet meeting and the decisions that was taken, of course, there. I'm Tracy Shilchi. I'll get you details of that in a bit, but first, the headlines. The Election Commission announces the dates for the Bihar Assembly elections. 5-phase polls to start from the 12th of October and counting to be held on the November 8th. Union Cabinet approves 6% hike in DA for staff, also paves the way for gold monetization, offshore wind energy policy and spectrum trading. Modi government decides to prorogue the monsoon session of Parliament to push the GST amendments in the winter session. High-powered delegation of Pakistani Rangers reach New Delhi. DGMO talks to start officially from tomorrow. And the European Union looks for a speedy resolution to the migrant crisis. New plans now include compulsory redistribution of the 160,000 migrants. Top story this evening. The Election Commission has announced the dates for the Bihar Assembly polls today, enforcing the Model Code of Conduct with immediate effect. Starting from the 12th of October, the elections will be held in 5 phases in 243 constituencies. The results will be out on the 8th of November. Here are more details.
The poll pitch is already high in Bihar. 2 key alliances have been holding rallies across the state for the past 1 month. Time has come up to step up the campaign as the Election Commission has released dates for the assembly polls.
Coming Bihar election will be conducted in 5 phases. For phase 1 election in Bihar, the date of notification will be 16th September 2015 and date of poll would be 12th October 2015, that is Monday, and date of poll would be 16th October 2015, which is Friday.
Being one of the states prone to Maoist insurgency, adequate measures have been taken to ensure peaceful and fair polling.
Out of 243 assembly constituencies, 47 assembly constituencies are affected by left-wing extremism and 29 districts out of 38 districts are covered under this extremism. The Commission has made more than adequate arrangement of central paramilitary forces. The central paramilitary forces will man all polling stations.
During the last assembly polls, ruling JDU contested in alliance with BJP. But the scenario changed before the Lok Sabha polls last year when the two decided to end their 17-year-old alliance. While BJP gained massively, JDU had a major face loss, forcing Chief Minister Nitish Kumar to step down. However, all that's changed now with a new alliance in place. BJP is also keen to restore the political momentum in favor of Modi government after suffering loss in Delhi polls.
चुनाव की तारीखों का ऐलान हो गया, खुशी की बात है। मॉडल कोड लागू हो गया, कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट लागू हो गया। बिल्कुल हम लोग अब निश्चिंत होकर के सिर्फ और सिर्फ चुनाव में अपना पूरा समय दे पाएंगे। ऑफ कोर्स जो इसेंशियल विषय होते हैं गवर्नेंस के, उसके लिए जो दायित्व है उसको निभाते हुए अपना सारा करें।
इंतजार था इसी घड़ी का और इस लड़ाई में पूरी तरह से हम लोग पराजित करेंगे भाजपा और उनके सहयोगी दलों को।
अब पुनः बिहार में विकास और विश्वास का पुल, शासन की निरंतरता, पारदर्शिता, लोकतांत्रिक मूल्य, इन सब के लिए हम परिवर्तन के लिए वोट मांगने वाले हैं।
नहीं, अच्छी बात है, मतलब ये तो होना ही था। अब समय कहाँ बचा है और हमको लगता है कि जो 5 चरण का है ठीक है।
The polling process will begin from October 16th when notification will be issued for the first phase of polls, which will initiate filing of nomination by candidates. The result will be out on November 8th, 3 weeks before the term of the current assembly expires. With inputs from Shyam Sundar, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's turn our focus to the cabinet that approved a 6% hike in dearness allowance for government employees, national offshore wind energy policy, spectrum trading and introduction of the sovereign gold bond scheme were also among several decisions taken by the cabinet today. Here are the details.
इस वर्ष के जो दूसरा हाफ है, सेकेंड हाफ है, 1 जुलाई से लेकर उसमें रिवीजन होता है सरकारी कर्मचारियों के डियरनेस अलाउंस का, तो 6% डियरनेस अलाउंस मंजूर किया गया।
Just minutes before the announcement of schedule for Bihar Assembly elections, the centre gave some good news to the government employees by increasing the dearness allowance. In its meeting on Wednesday, the cabinet also approved introduction of sovereign gold bond scheme and gold monetization scheme, saying it will reduce the demand for physical gold.
आज मंत्रिपरिषद ने सॉवरेन गोल्ड बॉन्ड स्कीम को अप्रूव किया है। इसकी जो सेल होगी वो केवल इंडियन एंटिटीज तक होगी। एक व्यक्ति एक वर्ष में 500 ग्राम से अधिक नहीं ले सकता। इस बॉन्ड के ऊपर ब्याज भी होगा। देयर विल बी एन इंटरेस्ट ऑन दिस बॉन्ड।
Coming close on the heels of spectrum sharing policy, Cabinet also gave its approval to spectrum trading in the telecom sector.
स्पेक्ट्रम ओनरशिप भारत सरकार की होती है। हम ऑपरेटर्स को ऑक्शन में उसको राइट ऑफ यूज देते हैं। That right of use today he can trade with someone else fully between two service providers. दूसरी बात है कि इसके लिए कोई भारत सरकार से परमिशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है। They have just to intimate 45 days in advance.
Cabinet also gave its approval to National Offshore Wind Energy Policy, constitution of 21st Law Commission for a period of 3 years, and revised estimate for 4-laning of Udhampur-Ramban-Banihal section of National Highway. Up to 100% FDI under automatic route was also cleared by the Cabinet in the activity of white label ATM operations. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, for more on this story, especially the gold monetization scheme, we are joined by Dhirendra Kumar, who is the head of the investment research company Value Research, joining us from the capital. Dhirendra, first of all, give us a sense really about this scheme. Who is it likely to benefit most? How is it going to work?
This is primarily addressed to, manage the current account deficit. Indians have huge appetite for gold. We have been importing nearly 800 to 1,000 tons of gold, and that leads to, and gold is an unproductive asset, and government has been concerned about it. That leads to massive outflows of foreign exchange as we import most of the gold. So this is primarily targeted towards that. I really wonder that this is going to benefit this is going to affect the real consumption of gold, because Indians have huge appetite for understandable reasons. So the consumption of jewelry and all that might get accelerate as prices have been suppressed for a while. But to a great extent, the investment demand, which is nearly about 25 to 35%, has ranged between 25 to 35% in last couple of years. That can be met by this, but then putting a ceiling of 0.5 kilogram per individual, that looks like a dampener. The other thing which comes to my mind, that would have been a very significant, that could have eliminated the need to nullify the need for such a bond, that people can put their bonds. There are a lot of temples and trusts of temples who are sitting on a huge deposit of gold, and if they are able to monetize it by giving it to the government, and the government in turn, and they will be able to realize some interest on that. But I really wonder, we have to really see the fine print and detail, that will it be able to incentivize those people to put their large stock of gold and be able to monetize it and earn interest on that. Otherwise,
absolutely, like you're pointing out,
to monetize it right now.
Yes, like you're pointing out, gold, of course, it's not just monetarily, but it's got a personal and also an emotional, importance as well, as we know in this country. But since we are just talking about how it's going to be affecting at least perceptions, or for that matter, interest rates for people who are, of course, going to be interested in this scheme, also give us a sense, Dhirendra, are we going to be seeing any change in the market? Is this going to affect the jewelry sector in a large way? Is this perhaps going to reduce the price of gold in some way?
Yes, to some extent it can have a global impact on gold prices because India is such a big consumer, and if for all our needs we have been importing, the demand for gold, actual gold, will actually come down because this gold bond scheme, the investment consumption, the need for investment in gold will definitely come down, and that can have a bearing. That apart, our ability to liquefy gold if we are holding it for investment purpose, so I don't think it is going to affect the jewelers. But because it is going to affect the sale of gold in physical form, you know, the gold biscuits and the bars and the coins which people buy as an investment. That need can be met by this particular scheme. Also, it might be if somebody holds a view that he needs to ride the price of gold, and that in a way can be served. But my sense is that looking at what has been the status of gold ETF, it is an investment alternative available to Indians. People are able to buy paper gold, and paper gold has actually lost the charm over the last 1 or 2 years, simply because what happened to gold about 5 years back, it was not only we fancied gold, not only that, it was an appreciating asset, no longer. So I really wonder that the investment demand will continue to be the way it has been in the last couple of years.
All right. We also have Mr. Arun Jaitley saying that, this is not a black money immunity scheme. This is something that even a lot of, investors, a lot of people who look at investments, who look at the tax reforms of this country are actually questioning if this in some way gives immunity to the black money, problem. Can you, make that easier for us to understand in what ways this is going to affect it?
Not at all. It is not an immunity. It is not any. It is no amnesty scheme, because the scheme the scheme as it was initially envisaged, that they are going to demand for the the standard KYC, which will be compliant with the Indian Money Laundering Act, so Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So in that sense, it provides no immunity. You must have legitimate gold, and you should be able to liquefy that. Yes, it is relatively less difficult to defend your ownership of gold held over generations. So to some extent, some people would like to bring it on record.
Yes.
But I don't think it is providing anybody any immunity.
All right. We leave it there. Dhirendra Kumar, thanks so much for joining us, explaining the story a little further as well. And, we hope that this, of course, as we are looking forward to a lot of these tax reforms by the Modi government, hopefully this is also going to be something in the positive direction. Meanwhile, talking about the Modi government, it has decided to prorogue the monsoon session of Parliament, ruling out a special session to move the GST amendment bill in the upper house. The decision means that the key reforms bill cannot be tabled before the winter session. The bill is key for the government to roll out the new tax regime, which it planned to do from April next year, which is 2016. The government was keen on a special session, but opted against it as talks with the Congress did not yield results. However, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has assured that efforts to reach on an agreement on the bill would continue. He also blamed the Congress, though, and its attitude in the House behind stalling of the bill.
Congress party's anger seems to be both with the government and with the people of India. Their attitude is almost guided by a revenge against the people who reduced them to 44 seats. And therefore, we have been finally told by them that their same attitude would continue.
भारत की जनता को ये मालूम है कि यूपीए सेकंड में किस पार्टी ने जीएसटी को रोका, कितनी बार संसद को रोकने का काम किया, वो आज हमको बता रहे हैं कि हम रोकने का काम कर रहे हैं।
अगर जीएसटी नहीं आया तो समझिए इसके लिए मुख्य कारण आज जिस तरीके से अपने सहयोगी पार्टियों की खोज कर रही है बीजेपी, उनको चाहिए आपके रीजनल पार्टीज की समर्थन पार्लियामेंट में।
President Pranab Mukherjee presented the Gandhi Peace Prize 2014 to the Indian Space Research Organisation at a glittering ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan today. The Gandhi Peace Prize was instituted in 1995 to mark the 125th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. The annual award is given to individuals and institutions for their contribution towards social, economic and political transformation of the country through non-violence and other Gandhian methods. And now for more national news updates, let's take you nationwide. Hearing a petition on acid attack victims, the Supreme Court issued contempt notices to Chief Secretaries of Karnataka, Kerala, Jammu and Kashmir, Mizoram and Madhya Pradesh for not filing their responses. All state governments were asked to file a reply on the rehabilitation policy for acid attack survivors. Panchayat elections will be held in Haryana on the 4th, 11th and the 18th of October. The State Election Commission announced the three-phase elections for nearly 72,000 posts of Panchayat members, Samitis and Zilla Parishads. Nominations can be filed from the 15th of September. On a two-day visit to her constituency, Rai Bareli, Congress President Sonia Gandhi today unveiled a statue of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at the Zilla Panchayat building. She is scheduled to meet her parliamentary constituents tomorrow. Without a quick break here, up next, international news, and Queen Elizabeth II wishes to carry on after becoming the longest reigning British monarch. Details ahead. Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, a delegation of Pakistan Rangers arrived in New Delhi for the DG-level talks between India and Pakistan that will officially begin tomorrow. India, of course, is expected to flag the ceasefire violations and cross-border infiltrations. Here's a report.
A high-level delegation of 16 Pakistani Rangers arrived in New Delhi for the DGMO talks on Thursday. They were earlier received at the Atari-Wagah border by senior BSF commanders. Rangers Director General Umar Farooq Burki is leading the Pakistani side.
बातचीत होनी है, बातचीत से ही हल होना है. तो मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है अथॉरिटी से कि बातचीत करें और कोई पुख्ता हल निकालें ताकि बॉर्डर पर शांति बनी रहे, यहाँ के लोग रसें बसें.
It is the first interaction between the two nations after the failed NSA talks. Pakistan is still pressing for inclusion of Kashmir issue in the talks.
This is a confidence-building steps. We are all hopeful for a better outcome of the talks. So let us hope that they will respond positively. We have already identified all those important points to be placed before the Pakistani counterparts.
However, opposition parties remain skeptical and are questioning why the Modi government is acting under pressure from Pakistan.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi must tell the country that on one hand, Pakistan at the level of their army chief, at the level of their defense minister, at the level of their national security advisor, is threatening India with war. On the other hand, his government is engaging in a negotiation at the level of the Director Generals of the Border Security Force. Why is this government talking to Pakistan?
बॉर्डर पे तो होता है, गोले बरसते हैं तब भी बैठक होती है. ये कोई बैठक वैसी नहीं है. ये तो रेंजर्स और बीएसएफ की मीटिंग स्वतः होती है. पाकिस्तान अपनी हरकत से बाज आए. वो अगर हरकत से बाज नहीं आएगा तो जवाब मिलता है.
The two Director Generals will be talking after a gap of over 1.5 years. The last time they did so was in Lahore in December 2013. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you the latest in the crisis. The European Union President has called upon the entire bloc to unite to tackle the crisis. In a speech in Strasbourg, Jean-Claude Juncker called for compulsory redistribution of the 160,000 migrants. The new plans will allow relocation of 60% of the refugees now in Italy, Greece and Hungary. The proposals will be discussed by EU ministers on the 14th of September in Brussels. Here's more.
Es fehlt an Europa in dieser Europäischen Union und es fehlt an Union in dieser Europäischen Union.
Europe in search of a swift and determined response to the migrant crisis. In an unusually emotive annual State of the Union address, European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker appealed for unity in its efforts.
It's 160,000. That's the number Europeans have to take in charge and have to take in their arms. And I really hope that this time everyone will be on board. No poems, no rhetorics. Action is what is needed for the time being.
Juncker's proposals are an additional intake of 120,000 refugees by member states. This in addition to quotas to relocate 40,000 refugees, a permanent relocation system, list of safe countries for returning migrants, strengthening EU's common asylum system, better border management and better legal channels for migration. Germany is leading the call for quotas. It also says not all migrants will qualify as refugees. Meanwhile, Australia also announced plans to take in more Syrian refugees.
Wenn wir auf den Euroraum insgesamt blicken, so können wir sagen, es gibt eine wirtschaftliche Erholung. Die Wirtschaftslage ist besser als noch vor einem Jahr. Und insbesondere reformstarke Euro-Länder wie Spanien und Irland wachsen überdurchschnittlich.
The government will shortly dispatch officials to the region to begin working with the UNHCR to identify potential candidates for resettlement. We will move very quickly, but everyone who is resettled in Australia will be subject to the usual security, health and character checks.
The Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland and Romania are opposing mandatory quotas. On Tuesday, Poland softened its approach, saying it will go beyond its earlier figure of 2,000 migrants. But with thousands fleeing the war-torn Middle East, the question is, will all the European measures be enough? Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now over to the UK, and it's been 63 years and 216 days that Queen Elizabeth II has ruled Britain, making her the longest-running monarch in the 1,000 years of British history. At 89 years old, she's also the nation's oldest ever monarch. Observers say that amid calls for an end to monarchy, the Queen has ruled with grace and poise. Here are more reactions.
Cheering crowds greeted Queen Elizabeth II in Edinburgh on Wednesday. At 5:30 p.m. British Standard Time, the Queen becomes the nation's longest-reigning monarch, having served 23,226 days, 16 hours and approximately 30 minutes. She passed the record set by her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. Prime Minister David Cameron led the nation in paying tributes to the Queen. He described her as a rock of stability and said her reign had been the golden thread running through 3 post-war generations.
Mr. Speaker, Her Majesty the Queen inspires us all with her incredible service, her dignified leadership and the extraordinary grace with which she carries out her duties.
Elizabeth ascended the throne at a young age of 25 on 6th of February 1952 following the death of her father, King George VI. Those were trying times for Britain as it struggled to recover from the ravages of the Second World War. As she took over, her relatively young age and gender caused some apprehensions, but it was what was needed in a country that was keen to make a fresh start after the war. The Queen is also known for her high personal standing, despite occasional strong criticism attracted by other members of the royal family. The 89-year-old monarch is seen as a dignified figure, much loved by royalists and respected even by Republicans. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you more international news in Global Buzz. Thailand police extended the custody for the second suspect who is under arrest in the Bangkok blast investigation. The suspect was arrested with evidence including bomb-making equipment and stacks of fake passports. Police are questioning 2 foreigners arrested last month whose names and nationalities are not confirmed yet. China will adopt new calculation method to measure the GDP starting from the third quarter of this year. In the past, the GDP statistics of a quarter actually show the sum of the previous quarters. After the reform, the statistics only show the amount of each quarter separately. This reform aims to adapt China's GDP calculation method to the current international standard. Turkish nationalists attacked the headquarters of the pro-Kurdish HDP in Ankara. The unrest took place after Kurdish militants killed 15 police officers in 2 bombings in eastern Turkish provinces. The Turkish Prime Minister has appealed for calm. US presidential candidate Hillary Clinton apologized for using a private email server at her New York home for her official communications as the US Secretary of State. In 2 earlier interviews, Clinton had declined to apologize for the controversy. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is now examining the email server to see whether any information, including classified information, was mishandled. And staying with the US, let's get you all the action from the US Open now. And Serena Williams is on course for a calendar Grand Slam after she overcame her sister Venus in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, top-seeded Novak Djokovic set up a semi-final clash with defending champion Marin Cilic. Also, the Indo-Swiss women's doubles pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis also advanced to the semi-finals.
World number 1 Serena Williams beat sister Venus to move within 2 wins of US Open title. 23rd seed Venus, however, did manage to push the 21 times Grand Slam champion into the 3rd set.
It's a really great moment. She's the toughest player I've ever played in my life, so and the best person I know. So it's going against your best friend and at the same time going against the greatest competitor for me in women's tennis. So it was really difficult today.
Serena will now play unseeded Italian Roberta Vinci, who reached her first Grand Slam semi-final after beating French Kristina Mladenovic 6-3, 5-7, 6-4.
Of the US Open.
In the men's draw, top seed Novak Djokovic beat 18th seed Spaniard Feliciano Lopez 6-1, 3-6, 6-3, 7-6.
3 sets to 1, 6-1, 3-6.
In the semi-finals, he will meet defending champion Marin Cilic, who beat Frenchman Jo-Wilfried Tsonga 6-4, 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 6-4 in nearly 4 hours.
He was anybody's game really in the 4th set. He had a couple of break points. I didn't have any chance on his service game, still the tie break, which went my way, and I played pretty good, very consistent, so just glad to get through in 4.
The women's doubles saw world number 1 pair of Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis reach the semi-finals. The Indo-Swiss team beat number 9 seeds Chan Yuanjan and Chan Haoqing 7-6, 6-1.
I mean, they came out really aggressive, and we weren't really hitting the spots. We lost the second game. I thought was crucial. If it was 1-1, it's a completely different game. They played a couple of great games.
The champions will now face Italian number 11 seeds Sara Errani and Flavia Pennetta for a final berth. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.